So then that takes us to the second one, which again, I think is one that many people wouldn't have thought about. Osmotic power systems. So again, this is actually a technology that's been around for a long time. We just haven't had the ability to transform it into something that's practical. And it's very, very simply the idea of generating electricity if you've got one body of water with high salinity and one body of water with low salinity. You can put devices in between them. And that difference in salinity actually it creates a pressure differential, which you can then use to generate electricity. And we're just getting to the point where we can scale this up.
This is one of the ones for me that I thought was, again, a little surprising to see it, where you're like, Osmotic.
Where's the AI?
Well, I love where's the AI in this? Oh, come on, guys. But also, I mean, I love that, like the subtext of this one: osmotic power systems, channeling salt into energy. It explains it. But I mean, so again, this is one of those examples of it's not a new technology; it's the new sort of resurgence in how it's being adopted, because it was apparently originally proposed in 1975.
Right. Yes.
But now has the technology sort of caught up in a way where it's now this feasible method, but also it's not a single way of doing it. There's multiple ways of doing this. One of building up pressure So essentially this concept of just leveraging a natural system of the salinity of water and how water will move from different states, and trying to balance out. And using that, so two different ways. One is to cause like a pressure buildup that then moves more traditional things you might think of it, then pressures like a turbine to move and generate electricity. The other way of putting this membrane in that uses the actual movement of these charged ions past it. And I was like, that's I'm like, I would need to dig into the science to get this metaphor. But I'm like, is that like static electricity in the water? Like is that kind of the same concept? Like you're rubbing these ions past a membrane, charges up the electrical.
There are electrons involved, so there's some connection there.
I was like, that's how I'm thinking of it. Right. But I thought that was incredibly cool. But
but also it shows you that sometimes you may get cynical and think, there's nothing new in the world, but you just need to change your perspective just through 90 degrees and suddenly realize there's a whole wealth of new things we can do there.
And again, thinking about the massive amount of power consumption needed, because I think this will also kind of dovetail us into number 3. But it's like, with the things that are missing from this list, right? All these massive super AI farms and stuff, the amount of energy consumption that has been increasingly rising. Suddenly you're like, aha, these are emergent technologies. These are solutions. And like these potentially are incredibly green solutions to meeting that. And it's like, and just the amount of salt water on this planet. I mean, it's what, 70% of the coverage of the planet.
Right. Yes. And actually, I think it was either last year or the year before we had green data, sort of looking at how do you sort of ensure sort of these big data centers are as green as possible in terms of the energy they use. So this now begins to fit into past emerging technologies.
Maybe not putting them in the middle of a desert. Power centers. Let's put them underwater.
Well, we need other power sources for that.